Hi, everyone. It is so great to be with you today. I really love having Interact at this time of year. Spring, at least here in Virginia, is coming, and you get those lovely sort of glimpses of what is to come. Those of you in colder climes, I'm sorry, but I promise spring is coming. I don't know about for you, but for me this year, spring feels like it has even more meaning as a time of hope and optimism after all that we as individuals and as a community have been through over the past few years. It's also a time of reflection for all of us around what's different than when we started this pandemic just 2 years ago. For me, it's also a time of gratitude. There is so much to be grateful for, all of the sacrifices that so many people have made across the country and across the world to protect the health and well-being of our society. And there's a lot of people to be grateful for, but today, being with this incredible group, I'm just feeling particularly grateful to educators for all you've done to go sort of above and beyond time after time to care for the children and the families who you work with each day. As a mother of three, I have almost 8-year-old twin daughters and a 15-year-old son. And as a person who has spent their life in education, I'm just so deeply grateful for the work that you all do. The last few years have reminded us of our whys in really powerful ways. And many educators, unfortunately, just haven't felt enough of that why and are leaving the field. And I understand that. I was a teacher. I know how hard the work is. At least before the pandemic, I can't even imagine what it's been like for the past few years. But it's remarkable for those who've stayed. So thank you for staying in education. Thank you for being with us today. I hope that in being here, you are reminded a little bit of your why. You get some opportunities to connect with others, learn some new things, and interact, because that's what it's all about. I also expect that you are in a community of others who share some of your passions. If you're at this particular meeting, I'm going to say it's pretty safe to assume that one of those passions is about interactions. I'm going to actually kick off today really talking about interactions. We've been thinking about interactions for a long time and working hard towards our mission of ensuring that every child reaches their full potential by measuring and improving the interactions that we know matter most. So, what are interactions? Before I actually define interactions, I want to define another word that we actually used to have in our mission statement, which is teaching. Of course, we work with teachers. We want to help them be more effective in their teaching. And it's a word that everybody's familiar with, they use. But let's actually define teaching. So, teaching is to show or explain to someone how to do something. To show or explain to someone how to do something. Okay, so hold that in your mind for a minute. And here are a few definitions of interactions. Reciprocal action or influence, to act upon one another. The process by which different things affect each other or change each other. Interaction actually comes from the Latin word inter, meaning between, and ago, meaning to do or to act. Any action between is considered an interaction. As educators, is it our job just to show or explain how to do something, or are we in the business of interactions, knowing that each moment that we're with another child, another educator, is at its best when we're in it together, learning beside each other, from each other, being influenced by each other. We certainly want to sometimes explain and teach things, but the real power comes in that interaction, noticing how the child responds, and then what we do next. So, what does that mean for us at Teachstone? We've taken a lot of time to really define what our own interaction should look like. And you'll hear from Letta later about our values and how we're working to make sure those show up in the way we work with each other and with you. But I want to start this morning at a more fundamental level, talking about interactions. How have we been and sort of held ourselves up to being the interactions company? Well, in some ways, we've spent the last 15 years interacting with you, our clients, our partners, our class enthusiasts, our class detractors and critiquers. But for too long, I actually think we thought of our work more as teaching. Our job was to teach people about the class so that they could use it in their programs. And we have done a lot of teaching. We've actually issued over 83,000 class observer certifications. We've trained many of you here today to be trainers, and you've gone out and done those trainings across the country. We've supported 4,500 coaches and leaders to lead evidence-based professional development. We've built a broad community, and we've built a platform in which people use to collect their data and report back to teachers. But how would I rate ourselves on interactions? How did coaches, leaders, teachers respond to what we did? And how did we respond back? What was that back and forth? As a good class observer and rater, I think I'd say we're somewhere in the mid-range, probably about a solid 4. I think we did really well in some areas. We heard calls for additional age levels and built out versions of class for infants and toddlers and adolescents as well. We certainly heard the call for more resources and supports to help educators do their jobs more effectively, and have built out many trainings and other tools to support that work. Over the past few years in the pandemic, we flipped in ways we never anticipated, moving our trainings to Zoom online, which I think we thought would be horrid. And I've been amazed watching each of you and some of our trainers in just really compelling and great trainings over Zoom. And we work together to understand what interactions actually look like in a COVID time with masks and physical distancing. And we even watched some of you teach 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds on Zoom. I think we can all say we hope to never go back to those times again. But again, I was amazed at educators and how incredible they could be at engaging young children in Zoom. Again, let's hope we don't have to go back there for long. So those are some of the high examples of our interactions. But during that time, if we think of serve and return as us responding and doing something different, there's one thing that hasn't changed, and that's the class. The fundamental of the manual and most of the training has remained very similar over the past 15 years. So in that important way, we've really missed some opportunities for serve and return interactions. Why? Well, I can tell you, it's not that we haven't been listening and paying attention. I think I started my own list of things that I wanted to change in the manual the day I sent the proofs off to my publisher a very long time ago. In fact, I remember how long, because I was on maternity leave with my son, who is now 15. It's a long list. And we've certainly heard feedback from the field for a long time around things that they would like to see differently in class. But as class started to be used broadly, we also became aware of the importance of stability and continuity, that having that shared language to describe, observe, measure, and improve interactions across Head Start, across state pre-K programs, and school districts across the country and across the world, that was really powerful, that stability and that language. So as an author of class and the leader of Teachstone, I certainly could see lots of reasons to change class, but also was very sensitive to the consequences of change for the field. But simply put, over the last 2 years, it became clear that the benefits of change outweighed the challenges. So today I am announcing to the field that this summer we will launch Class Second Edition. I know that the moment I say that, many of you have lots and lots of questions, and I promise we will answer them all. But today I want to focus first on the why. Before I do, just a few things to get off the table. One is we are not changing the fundamentals of class. The domains and the dimensions are staying the same. The first edition of the manual will still be relevant. We're really building on it in ways that respond to what we've heard from you. And I'll give you some examples in a moment. Those who've invested will be able to build on those investments. And I have to say, as we've talked about some of these changes with partners at the Office of Head Start and in states across the country, they're certainly aware of the consequences and some of the impacts of these changes, but the overwhelming response has been that our partners feel heard and responded to. So as you learn more today and over the next few days and weeks, I hope that you'll feel the same. Certainly would love to hear from you. So let's dig in a little bit to why we're evolving class. There are 5 guiding principles in which we grounded our work: equity, continuous improvement, integration, scale, and collective impact. Equity is a word that's on pretty much every company's webpage, about page these days. But at Teachstone, we take our commitments to equity very seriously, centering our work on the people and communities we serve, and focusing our resources on supporting those disproportionately impacted by economic and racial disparities. We're committed to developing products and services that impact every child, that are accessible to every educator, and that reflect and support the communities we serve. To achieve this, we must start with transforming ourselves as individuals and as a company. Over the past few years, we've increased the diversity of our company by quite a lot. There's certainly more work to do. And we've invested in this incredible partner organization, the Equity Paradigm, who's been leading intensive training, self-assessments, planning work with us. If anyone is looking for a training and support partner around their DEI work, I would highly recommend the Equity Paradigm. It would be fun to talk a lot more about that. I know I personally have had many learnings, and it's been not easy, but good work that we've done as a company and will continue to do in that space. But I want to talk today about our external commitments. As we've thought about what we can do to show up differently in the world as aligned to our equity commitments, there's one thing that we knew we could do that would be the most powerful and the most important. And that's really this revision to class that we're talking about today. As the organization that helps define quality, we have an obligation to make sure that our definitions reflect, are inclusive of, and celebrate the assets of the diverse communities that we serve. We define interactions through our written materials, the trainings, the videos that we use. And although the interactions that we describe in class have really resonated with educators across cultures and across continents, we know we need to do more to ensure we're supporting a vision for what those interactions look like that is more inclusive, more representative, and does more to show how educators can individualize their interactions in the classroom to best support the needs of every child. We really are working to hold ourselves accountable to the help every child reach their full potential part of our mission. We know it's not easy. There's not a single tool, a single organization, a single method that is going to reach that goal, but we do feel very strongly that the changes that we are making to the second edition are an important step toward that path of supporting every child and the educators who serve them. So, how will it show up? The second edition of the class measurement suite, which includes the manual, the training, certification, and our affiliate program, as well as our platform, does it in several ways. First, it provides more equitable and inclusive definitions of interactions. It increases the representation of examples in video and written forms. It introduces equity considerations, focusing on helping observers understand how interactions may look different across variations in culture, language, developmental abilities, and settings. And it incorporates training on bias, providing strategies for reducing bias and the role that it plays in class observations and scoring. I could talk at length about any of these things. I've been deeply engaged in this work, but there'll be plenty of opportunities to learn more. So I'd actually like to start, as I often do, by watching some video together, because I always say watching interactions transforms interaction. So let's take a moment to watch a video together. But before we watch, I'm actually going to ask you to paint a picture in your mind of a classroom. Imagine a lesson for young children on plants and how they grow. The teacher is actively facilitating, the children are actively engaged. I want you to actually close your eyes. Take a moment to imagine what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it smells like. Where are the children? What materials are they working with? How many children are there? What is the teacher doing and saying? As you paint this picture in your mind, also pay attention to how seeing it makes you feel. Do you feel calm, excited, relaxed, confused, nervous? Just take another minute to watch an interaction unfold in your mind. Okay, now open your eyes. Jot down three or four notes about what you saw during that lesson on plants. Now we're going to watch a video together. As you watch, I want you to write down what you notice happening and put a little star beside anything you note that was different from what you observed in your mind. All right, let's watch together.
Flower now. See the flower, the white flower. Yeah, you see waterfowl poly too. Yeah, there's lots of roly poly in our garden.
We're not spread the roly poly.
呢個你佢走先，你同我揸住，俾阿 Isa 行啦，你行啦。Now we have this cilantro. That's cilantro. Now spray the bottom where the soil is. The soil. Where the soil is. 妹，你係咪想要個 sprayer 啊？我攞個俾你 ，OK？ 攞個俾你 ，OK？ 攞個俾你，睇住吧，睇住。Wash your hands later, OK? Okay. Now see what plant is this? That is a strawberry plant. Look at what these are.
Flower plant.
Yeah, these are the flower, the white flower. Do you know what's inside right here? Now this is a strawberry plant, and this white flower is flower, and inside here it's a little strawberry. And this would grow and grow and grow and become a big strawberry when it turns green, and then it turns orange, and then turn red. And then when it's red, it's ready to be picked. So we're gonna look at it every day to see how it grows. Okay.
All right. So what was similar and what was different as you watched that from what you imagined in your mind? Did you imagine the children were inside or outside? Did you imagine it was a classroom of just 4-year-olds, or did you imagine a mixed age group? What did you imagine about the racial composition of the classroom or the languages that were spoken? How did you imagine this lesson going? Did you imagine pots and seeds and cans of water, or maybe a piece of paper with some brainstorming about plants? What was similar? What was different? What I really want to know is how many of you imagined a dog? Well, obviously, there's no right or wrong here. There's no one vision of what quality can look like. And that's the point. is that we all come with images in our mind of ideal learning environments. And we all have work to do to expand that vision beyond what is the norm for us. And that's really important for this work if you are somebody observing with class, because you'll walk into many settings that are not familiar to you. And you may be surprised by what you see. And it's important for us to be aware of our own biases that we bring into the classroom so that we, as much as possible, cannot allow those to influence our scores. And I'm really excited about the changes that we have in the manual and particularly in the training, providing many, many more examples of what this can look like across really diverse settings. As we did this work, it's important to know that, this is a great example of not being able to do this work alone. So we worked with an incredible and diverse group of educators, class experts, to help us develop really authentic examples of what indicators of interactions might look like across a wide spectrum of interactions and contexts and cultures. There is so much diversity in this world, so there's no way that any single training can cover all the forms of diversity that we know exist. But we're working really hard to support the field to expand the understanding of quality and what it looks like in classrooms. If you're interested in learning more, there's several sessions you can check out. There's a great session later today that deep dives into some of the bias work. And then I believe tomorrow there's a session by Grace Funk and Mamie Morrow where we'll be talking more about some of the changes in the class second edition. So this work that we're doing, it's really starting with a class measurement suite because that's the core of what we do. It's the core of what you do when you say you are doing class, but the change won't stop there. It's important, first of all, to know that all of the trainings and supports we've developed to date, they're still relevant because we're just building on top of class. So there's no need to stop using the things that you're already doing to support class in your programs. But we'll work in coming months and years to make sure that we continue to update all of our trainings and tools in the ways that can be most impactful for supporting every child and every educator in your program. So now let's take a moment to talk about integration and scale. What do those words really mean? Well, in terms of integration, we know that class too often feels like a separate, different thing that has to be done in the classroom. So we're working hard to help class fit more seamlessly into the everyday work that you do as teachers, coaches, leaders, observers. Your jobs are complicated enough. It's our responsibility to make the work of interactions easy for you. And we have to do this at a really large scale. We need to be able to support our really large partners like the Office of Head Start, as well as the smallest of programs that maybe have only one classroom. That means we need to be thinking about flexibility in choice in the way our programs are delivered. So you'll see some examples of that as we roll out Class Second Edition. As we thought about the goals, the broad sort of guiding principles of integration and scale in this work, we've really focused on two more specific goals. One is increasing access, and the other is increasing ease of implementation. So when we think about access, we know one of the greatest barriers to class is the amount of money and amount of time it takes to do class. And one of the core drivers of that is all of the age levels, trainings and certifications that we have. At the same time, we've heard from you that you really appreciate the age specification in what interactions look like. We know we can't describe the same interactions of a teacher working with a very young child as an educator working with a high school student. There's commonalities, but what they look like is pretty different. So I am very excited to announce today that one of the ways we will increase access to class is by easing this burden and moving from 6 age levels down to 3. So we currently have infant, toddler, pre-K, K3, upper elementary, and secondary. Some of you in this room are probably certified on all of them. to 3. So we will move towards infant toddler, pre-K to 3rd, and a combined UE and secondary tool. This evolution will start this summer with the launch of the 2nd edition pre-K manual and training for pre-K to 3rd grade, which will allow class observers to attend 1 training and take 1 annual certification test across these age levels. This age integration not only reduces cost and time burden, but it also helps ensure that we're building a continuity of understanding of what effective interactions look like across these critical early years of schooling. I will note that for those of you who are really just focused on pre-K, one example of sort of flexibility that we will deliver is if you're interested in just pre-K training, you can attend a training that will be filled with just pre-K videos, just pre-K video exemplars, and just take a pre-K certification test. So we're really trying to customize so that you can get what you need out of that experience, but others can choose to have an experience with a mix of pre-K, K, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade classroom experiences. So hopefully that is exciting news to you, a few less tests for you all to take every year, and we'll have more about some of the other age integrations to follow. We're also making a number of improvements to make class easier to implement, starting with the manual itself. We're sort of changing the format of the manual based on lots of user testing and feedback so that you as observers can take just the information you need to do an observation, and that the information is organized in the right way to help you do your work most effectively and efficiently. And we've been really revamping our data collection reporting suite to make it much, much easier, fewer clicks for you to be able to get in the information you want about a class observation and turn immediately back to teachers really actionable, specific, and automated feedback about their practice. So again, you can learn more about some of this at sessions across the next few days. As our final guiding principles, let's talk for a moment about collective impact and about continuous improvement. This is really the sort of measure and improve part of our mission statement. We know that resources are limited, and our job is to help you focus resources on those things that are going to be most impactful to the children, families, and communities that you serve. Over the last 15 years, our collective work around class, but really your work, has helped focus the field on interactions, which research demonstrates time and again are critical to the learning and development of children. But as we designed Class 2nd Edition, we asked the field and leading researchers across the country about what else was most important in predicting children's development and learning and other elements of the classroom experience that were really important to capture alongside class. So before diving into some of the changes there, let's take a moment to watch another video. As we watch, I want you to write down the interactions that you see, which will probably come easily to you, but also write down things that you notice that aren't really interactions, or just anything else that wouldn't really fit into class. So let's watch together and then we'll come back and talk about what we saw.
Vamos a decirlo en inglés, a ver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, ¿cuál? 13, que es el 13. Después del 12 viene el 13. ¿Cuál es el 13? Miren, el 1 con el 1, el 1 con el 2, y ahora ¿quién viene? ¿El 1 con el qué?
El 3.
Con el 3. Muy bien, ¿es este?
Ajá, el 1 con el 3.
¿Y ahora quién va? ¿Ahora quién viene? 1 con el 1, 1 con el 2, 1 con el 3, 1 con el qué? ¿Quién sabe? Ya no tenemos que contar, mira, podemos descubrirlo así. El 1 con el 1, el 1 con el 2, el 1 con el 3 y el 1 con ¿quién? ¿Cuál le sigue el 3? ¿Cuál es ese? Vamos a contar entonces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 13. ¿Cuál es?
All right, so what did you see? Well, as always, a short video. Even in a short video, we see so many things. I think the most obvious interactions to me really fit into instructional learning formats and feedback. The teacher is obviously actively facilitating, and the girls are really fascinated and engaged in the lesson. And then so many examples of her scaffolding and even changing her instructional strategies to be able to meet the needs of the children that she's working with. I'll also note, this is a classroom of dual language learners, and the second edition does a much, much better job of describing the interactions that will occur in these kinds of settings, paying particular attention to the ways in which educators use nonverbals and intentionally use both home language and the language of instruction in supporting learning and development. So those were just a few of the interactions. I'm sure you all jotted down far more, but let's think a little bit beyond interactions. What else did you notice? There's two core evolutions in the class second edition that help observers focus on, measure, and improve more of what we know matters to support learning and development for young children. First, there's more robust activity setting items, and there's a supplemental tool called class environment. So let's talk just for a moment about each. We know that one of the most critical ingredients to children's learning and development, besides interactions, is the activities and curriculum that they're engaged in. We've probably all seen those examples of interactions that might score pretty high on class, particularly instructional support, but we see something missing because they're not happening in the context of a clear lesson that has a clear learning goal. And is really focusing and engaging the children in meaningful activities. So in the class second edition, right alongside typical class observations, we've just changed and sort of made more robust some of the items to capture what's happening in the classroom. So we'll be capturing the content above and beyond just the majority of what's happening, but really all the content that you see happening in a classroom, and how much children are actually engaged in it, as well as the format that it's being delivered in: whole group, small group, individual work, center time, etc. So in this particular video, we'd capture not just those interactions that we talked about, but also that it's a small group math lesson and that the children are really engaged. We really think that these informational metrics are going to provide helpful information to guide professional development and learning for teachers. And they give us an easy way, right alongside class, of sort of understanding more about children's curricular experiences. The other thing that we noticed in this video is the materials that they were using. So it's hard to imagine that teacher even conducting that lesson or having those interactions without the cards that were focusing children on the numbers in a variety of ways. So we've designed the class environments to capture not absolutely everything about the environment, but those elements of the materials and displays and arrangements in the classroom that are most important for supporting learning and development and supporting effective interactions in the classroom. We designed class environment alongside our state and local partners who are looking for a low-cost way to capture interactions and environments together. With just a few additional moments added to a class observation, it's now much easier to give educators feedback on how they can intentionally set up the classroom to make materials available in ways that enable the most effective interactions and learning moments. So these are just some of the highlights that we've been working on. There's much more to hear about, and there'll be plenty of opportunities to learn more. In just a moment, you're actually going to hear Letta talk not so much about the why and the what, but the how of how we're doing some of this work and ways to support the transition to this new edition of the manual. So before I turn it over to Letta, I just want to end where I began, with gratitude. We talk about collective impact at Teachstone because we know we can't achieve impact alone. It is a collective effort. We've been inspired by all of you so many times, the innovations and things that you've done that blow our mind. So we're going to continue to learn as a community, share best practices, ideas with each other, share feedback. And I'm excited for the opportunities that we'll have in the next few days to do that. We couldn't have gotten to the second edition without you. So please keep interacting with us, keep sharing your feedback as we continue to evolve and grow as a community. I'm really excited to attend as many sessions as I can. As always, it's so hard to pick and choose because there's so many great sessions. I'm also going to be at the Product Lounge Wednesday, 3:45 to 4:15, where I look forward to interacting and talking with those of you who are able to join. And I really look forward to the next time as we continue this journey together, and maybe somewhere it will even be in person. So now I'll turn it to Letta. Letta Simon joined Teachstone over 3 years ago as our Chief Strategy Officer and was recently promoted to our Chief Operating Officer. And as you will hear, Letta has brought to Teachstone just her incredible experience in the field as a leader who ran Head Start early childcare programs for many years. And her heart and soul is certainly in interactions, but also in making sure that the work we do is centered on the needs of the people that we serve. At Teachstone, she oversees all of our operations, but in particular our field-facing team. So our professional service team, our sales teams, our customer support teams, our client success teams, those people that you've come to know and love in your interactions with Teachstone over the years. And she is just deeply committed to making sure that all of our work with you really reflects our values. And she'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. This organization wouldn't be where it is today without having Letta by my side. I've learned so much from her. Every day, I learned something new about great and inspiring leadership from her. So some of you have gotten a chance to meet her before, but for those of you who have not, you're in for a treat a little bit now. And then she also will be doing a great session with one of our colleagues, Dominique McCain, later in this Interact meeting. So please make sure you get to hear Letta. And with further ado, Letta, I will turn it over to you. Thanks again for being here, everyone, and we will see you soon.
Thank you, Bridget. It is truly an honor to be here today and to have the opportunity to interact with all of you this week. 3 years ago, I joined Teachstone with a desire and commitment to support leaders and teachers with practical, equitable, and evidence-based solutions to drive impact and positive outcomes for children and address the needs of educators and families. In my 20 years leading programs in marginalized communities using the class, I saw firsthand, as many of you have, the value in being able to measure and improve the quality of teacher-child interactions. I believe in the class and in educators and their fundamental ability to bring out the best in our children. So it's been exciting and humbling to be a part of these enhancements to the class. Enhancements centered largely on progressing equitable interactions in the classroom and beyond. So you heard Bridget talk about the why and the what as it relates to the upcoming enhancements to the class. What I will describe now is the how. I'm sure you're wondering how your program will implement these improvements. Our commitment is to work in partnership with each of you to integrate these improvements in the field and into your daily work. Our goal during these transitions is to reduce the burden while delivering the biggest impact for you. To achieve this goal, Teachstone centers our work in partnership with you on a set of core values. First and most importantly, we are committed to the equity and empowerment of all. This means celebrating and protecting the uniqueness of individuals, cultures, and settings. To do this, we've invested in equity enhancements across the updated class manual, observation training, and new observation supports. Together, these tools ensure an effective use of class across diverse settings. And today, I am thrilled to announce the Class Observers Fellow Program. This fellowship is a new initiative aimed at improving the diversity and representation in our certified class observer community. For joining this program, You will be among the first to experience the enhanced class observation training, and your observation training and certification will be free. The application process launches today, and our hope is that you decide to join us in this exciting program. We're looking forward to this partnership as together we support teachers and educators to thrive in the classroom. The next core value integral to this work is our commitment to make the complex simple. In practice, this means reducing burden, offering no-cost onboarding for current observers, and working alongside our partners to create seamless transition plans. Class will be more accessible and easier to implement. The class manual will be separated to enable free public access to the research, to the theories, and the application guidance. We've also created a new observation field guide to ensure an observer has what they need at their fingertips during an observation. We are simplifying the age groups to reduce training and certification burdens by consolidating the multiple certification groups to one, pre-K to third. You can customize your trainings to best suit what your program needs. We're also offering flexibility in delivery. In-person or virtual training options will be available to reduce the burden of cost. These exciting changes to the trainings are also coming to our affiliate network. If you are a certified affiliate, by the beginning of next year, you will be equipped to deliver the updated trainings. In the meantime, you have the option to receive free bridge trainings so that you can begin to deliver on the promise of the class. For those programs already using class, we'll provide the support you need to make this transition on a flexible timeline. As the provider of the class measure, another core value we focus on is using feedback and data to drive impact. Feedback was a significant part of this revision process. Teachstone conducted dozens of listening sessions with educators, administrators, and state leaders to really get a comprehensive understanding of what the class tool was lacking and where we could better support the needs of the field. With that feedback, we've made intentional updates to drive more actionable measures of quality, including updates to the class manual and observation training, our My Teachstone measurement suite, and the new class environment offering. What's amazing is when you look at all of these investments holistically, it's easy to see the impact, a collective intentional drive towards a system of continuous quality improvement, and not just any CQI system, but one that drives improvements around the areas that matter most for children's learning and development. I often refer to the class as an equalizer. The tool already equips you in your program to measure and improve the quality of teacher-child interactions. And I told you earlier that I believe in the class and in the educators who practice with the tool every day. Speaking as a former educator who worked with students in marginalized environments, I am confident that these changes to the tool will be effective for all educators and children, regardless of setting or background. And what's even more powerful is knowing that the structure of class hasn't changed. We're committed to preserving and building upon the powerful implementations you've already established and preserving the powerful common lens and language for effective interactions that the class offers. The changes described today will not only make class easier to use, but more impactful. With these changes, the class language becomes more accessible for everyone. For example, indicator terms that often had you referencing back to the manual for definition and clarity will be more simplified to more accessible language. These are simple changes, but the more approachable language will result in a better illustration of what it means in practice. These changes will give observers access to better training that gives you the context of the power and importance of interactions. The equity considerations needed to be effective the confidence to observe in diverse settings, and the access to additional supports for collecting data in the real world. As a result, teachers and caregivers can build greater trust and confidence in knowing that the observations are being conducted fairly and the data collected will offer more targeted and useful support. All of this leads up to a collection of more accurate, reflective, actionable, and comprehensive data that will help you as leaders and coaches have what you need to more effectively move beyond accountability to improvement. Leaders and coaches will know how to best support an educator in improving their practice, more easily recognize and celebrate the moments of success, and create a culture in which everyone is dedicated to providing life-changing interactions to every child and to each other. Finally, the last core value I want to touch on is driving each other's success. Interestingly, it was a late addition to our complete set of core values and came from an employee suggestion, urging us to acknowledge our shared need for collaboration and teamwork in order to be successful. That sentiment is one that is not only true for our internal culture at Teachstone, but the same could be said about our partnership with you, the educators and leaders on the ground every day, working to improve children's lives. The reality is we could create the most amazing training, videos, assessments the world has ever seen, but we simply will not succeed in our mission without your partnership. Our vision must be a shared one, and we invite you to join us to create a better future for every child and every educator together. I'm sure you have many questions, and you can expect additional communications and details over the next few weeks. While we expect these updates to be available in rolling increments, you can expect the first pre-K, K through third updates to release this summer so that we can begin to deliver impact as early as fall implementations. We also want to hear from you. We invite you to come interact with us over the next few days, engage in networking sessions to meet new colleagues, and join us for deep dive sessions to engage with Teachstone, ask questions, and give us feedback in the product lounge. Enjoy the conference and be sure to attend our closing celebration where we have an exciting announcement about Interact 2023. And finally, before you go, the last thing we want to share is this brief peek into the enhanced observation training. We hope it gets you as excited as we are. Thank you for your time and your partnership.
Wow, let's see si puedes. 15.
It's a 1 and a 5.
1 and a 5.
This is a head.
A head, okay, like our head. What's this one?
9.
Every child, regardless of their race, ethnicity, language, social, economic status, deserves the very best that we have to offer. They deserve a high-quality classroom with teachers who can't wait to be with them.
That's really good. Would you like to try some? Okay, I'll get you your own piece.
Look at it. Can I have some? It does.
You're a really good chef.
We've thought for many years that teaching was imparting knowledge. And what we know when we're interacting with each other is that we're learning from each other.
Ultimately, all of the work that we do is helping to ensure that more and more students walk into classrooms each and every day feeling welcomed, supported, known. Unfortunately, we just know from a lot of research that not every student walks into a classroom like that every day. And in particular, there are racial inequities in children's experience of effective interactions.
Las manos. Hands. Can you show me your hands, Elena?
I think that there is an increasing awareness around the widening of the gap, the need for us to lean in as educators with new solutions that address these issues in innovative ways. So CLASS creates a common framework for educators to measure quality and a shared framework for understanding the experiences of teacher-child interactions in the classroom.
One of the things that class really focuses on is giving educators a tool to help really hone in and watch themselves teach in a non-judgmental way, to hone in on the specific practices that may be inequitably distributed across students in their classroom. So the class is a tool to be used for continuous quality improvement. We think of 3 major steps in that work: focus, measure, and improve. And these steps really work together in an ongoing and continuous cycle. When educators focus using class, it helps entire systems, entire schools really align around the quality of interactions that they're looking to create. Next is the measure phase. During that phase, observations are conducted in classrooms, and meaningful feedback is provided for teachers to improve their interactions, and those data can also be used for systematic program and school-wide improvement. During the improve stage, we see schools doing a variety of things like professional development, where teachers really get to hone in on particular elements of their practice.
You never let him shuck his shoulders or say, I don't know. You kept saying, why?
I hope that educators take away from this training just an awareness of how important the work that's happening in the classroom is. Every interaction, every opportunity that we get to engage with children can and will impact them.
It's all about the child being met where they are and given the opportunity to succeed. When the child feels love, affection, and knowing that they're important, they can't help but strive.
We talk so much about what children need to be successful, and sometimes we forget that educators need exactly the same things children need. Educators need to be seen. They need to be valued. They need professional development opportunities that helps them to become the best version of the teacher they can be.
Okay, let's see. Do I have a 3? You have a 3?